It is now in order to consider amendment number 70, printed in House Report 114-639. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Missouri seek recognition?
I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 70, printed in House Report number 114-639, offered by Mrs. Hartzler of Missouri.
Pursuant to House Resolution 794, the gentlewoman from Missouri, Ms. Hartzler, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Missouri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to offer an amendment that would limit the CFPB's ability to unilaterally enter into fiscally irresponsible contracts for the purpose of advertising. The CFPB has shown itself to be irresponsible with their spending and politically motivated with their choice of advertising firms. In fiscal year 2016, the CFPB has so far spent $15.3 million on Internet ads, which have achieved questionable results. The CFPB is devoting a greater portion of its budget to advertising than nearly every other federal agency. Moreover, nearly all the CFPB's advertising dollars, including a $12.5 million contract signed in February of this year, are going to a single advertising firm, just happen to be used by the presidential campaigns of President Barack Obama and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. This is reckless, out of control government spending at its worst, and it reeks of cronyism. Congress must act to rein in this abusive waste of taxpayer funds and stop the agency from throwing away money. We need to end this misuse of tax dollars with passing my amendment. And I thank the Rules Committee for making my amendment in order, and I'd like to yield 1 minute to the chairman.
Well, I thank the gentlewoman for yielding, and I want to thank her for bringing this before the body tonight and urge its adoption. This underlying bill talks about the the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. We've talked a lot about it tonight. And one of the things the underlying bill does is put it under the appropriations process. And this is a pretty good example of why they ought to be under the appropriations process. Most other agencies in the federal government are. They come to Congress, they say, this is what we'd plan our spending on, and here's how much we'd like. But they are not accountable to anybody. So we're just trying to bring some transparency. But this is the classic example of why they ought to be under the appropriations process. If they would walk in and say, we just want to spend $15 million of hard-earned taxpayers' dollars on advertising, we might ask some questions about that. So it's a good amendment, and I urge its adoption.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really appreciate your support, and I would like to reserve my time.
Gentlewoman reserves. For what purpose does the gentleman from New York seek recognition?
Claim the opposition. Time in opposition.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
This is an ambiguous and punitive amendment which could prevent the Bureau from making seniors, service members, and students aware of predatory financial practices, interrupt the Bureau's ability to work with consumer advocates and the financial services industry on consumer education, and keep American consumers in the dark about the only agency designed specifically to protect their interests. For every dollar spent on financial education, $25 is spent on financial marketing. You can see that for yourself by searching for a car loan or credit card offer on Google, or looking through the junk you get in your mailbox every week. In fact, marketing of these products has become so pervasive, Google recently banned advertising for payday loans on the basis they were harmful to Google's own customers. The Bureau has developed a number of tools that we should be all helping to make Americans more aware of, including a great set of resources on home ownership and mortgages called Know Before You Owe, as well as an online tool that arms consumers with the information they need to identify the most competitively priced loans in the marketplace. The Bureau has used Internet advertising as well as TV advertising through GSA-approved contractors that offer advertising management services to get the word out about these important resources that help consumers plan for their financial futures and save their hard-earned money. While Republicans claim to support transparency and competition in markets, they on the Bureau's efforts to educate consumers on how to get the best deals on financial services and avoid debt traps. At the same time, Republican allies have spent millions of dollars on internet and television for a smear campaign cynically named Protect America's Consumers, which has falsified quotes from members of Congress and misrepresented Bureau activities to discourage taxpayers from taking advantage of the Bureau services. One Sunlight Foundation analysis found that this bogus group spent $58,000 just on television advertisement smearing the Bureau. What real consumers' profits had that kind of money to throw around? Not anyone that I know. Fortunately, none of the Republican attacks have been able to keep the Bureau from returning $11.4 billion to consumers or from providing financial advice to more than 12 million unique visitors to their website. We would, however, like to thank the Republicans for giving the Bureau some free advertising for those who are watching the debate. Make sure you visit your Consumer Finance DOT.gov for more information on mortgages, student loans, credit cards, and banking accounts. And that's consumerfinance.gov, just in case anyone missed it. And I urge opposition to the amendment.
Does the gentleman reserve?
I do.
Gentleman reserves. The gentlewoman from Missouri is recognized.
Well, I would just thank the gentleman for giving some free advertising there to the agency and proving my point that we don't need to spend over $15 million of taxpayer money on this. You know, all these services are available already. Consumers can find out this information, and you know, this is about fiscal responsibility and accountability. We weren't even aware that the CFPB was spending this amount of money. As the chairman mentioned, there's no accountability for the agency. So Congress didn't know until a newspaper article did an investigation on it. That's how we became aware that this agency has spent 2.5% of its budget this year on ads, the second highest level among all federal departments and comparable regulatory agencies for this year to date. So this is egregious. There's no accountability. It's not needed. And so I would urge my colleagues to support this amendment, and I reserve my time.
The gentlewoman reserves. The gentleman from New York is recognized.
I yield back.
The gentleman yields. The gentlewoman from Missouri is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I encourage all my colleagues to support this common sense measure to save the taxpayer dollar and to curb irresponsible spending. More thorough insight and oversight of the CFPB is necessary, and I believe this is a step in the right direction. So I thank the Speaker for his time, I thank the Chairman for his support, and I yield back my time.
The gentlewoman yields. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentlewoman from Missouri. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chairs, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
Like a vote on that?
Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18, further proceedings on the amendment offered by the gentlewoman from Missouri will be postponed.